Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, The Connected Factory, Mastering the Zerynth-Odoo Integration Potential of Your Manufacturing Process, hosted by Bista Solutions. We are thrilled to have you here today and hope you will gain valuable insights into connected factories and digitizing your company.
Thank you, Senia. Thank you for the introduction. As you know, I'm Faisal. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Bista Solutions. We are a digital transformation company. In today's webinar, we have Diego joining us, who's the Chief Growth Officer at Zerynth. Thank you, Diego, for taking the time for this webinar. Diego will talk a lot about what Zerynth does and about industrial Internet of Things. So we can move to the next slide. Just a little bit on the agenda. We will introduce what the connected factory is, talk about some of the challenges, see how Zerynth addresses those challenges. We will also have an overview of Bista Solutions and Odoo, a little bit about how Odoo is used in manufacturing, and then Diego will talk about how the Zerynth solution is linked to Odoo, and then we'll hopefully have some demo, some stories, and a Q&A session. So we have a packed webinar today, so we can move to the next slide. So a little bit about Bista Solutions. We are a digital transformation company. We help our customers right from the process of business analysis to selecting the right tools for their business, and more importantly, implement and make it work for the customers. We are an Odoo Gold partner. Odoo is an open source ERP system which is used in manufacturing and other verticals. The focus of this webinar is manufacturing and how you can connect your equipment into Odoo, right? So we can go to the next slide, and Diego, you can take over.
Thanks, Faisal, and thanks for inviting me. So as you said, the topic of today is around the connected factory. And the reason why we decided to talk about the factory instead of saying the connected single asset is because we believe that the full potential of the digital transformation and to optimize the production, the energy consumption, the maintenance can be obtained if we're really able to connect the different elements of the factory. We want to have a full view at the factory side, and the idea is to give you an overview on how the factory can be connected and the benefit associated with it. So if you go to the next page, the reason why it's important to have a connected factory is not because it's great to have digital, is because connecting the different assets in a factory allow to create some benefit on the financial of the company. Some of the goals that we are seeing our customer achieving and try to reach are around energy consumption. That is a big topic this day. We saw some energy consumption reduction up to 20%. Unplanned downtime, still a lot of machines stop, creating some reliability issues and production associated with that. And as well, optimize the production. When we're talking about production, is be able to monitor the work orders, be able to reduce the scrap and the defect. Now, the way to achieve this, the way to achieve this goal is being able to monitor the different machines and allow a full integration to the different systems in order to be able to analyze the full production process as well as the delivery time. Now, in order to do that, there are some challenges that we are seeing, and actually we're all facing in the manufacturing facilities, is that there is definitely a lack of visibility of the usage of the machines. Also driven by the fact that the machines are not all the same, and we'll see later not at the same age. Sometimes there is no full visibility on the operation, there are no real KPIs, and a lot of data are collected manually, not in a lively manner. So this is really giving a lot of problem, and it doesn't show the response time. If we move to the next slide, what is really important that we notice in the different manufacturing facilities is that the average age of the equipment is pretty old. Now, if you go to a Tesla factory, everything will be new, but the reality is 95% of the factory are not like that. And what we notice is that more than 50% of the equipment that are in a factory are more than 10 years old. Now, what does it mean? It means that in an idea of being able to connect the different assets, we need to be able to connect the new asset, but also the old asset. The other challenge that usually is creating problem during an implementation of an IoT project is the fact that there are already different systems that are in place. And as I'll show you later, we've been trying to create an architecture that is really fitting the existing architecture without having to destroy everything. If we look to the next page, what does it mean, asset, and how do we look at the asset? Well, everybody's familiar with the production machinery. It is one usually at the core of the factory. Of course, this one needs to be connected. Sometimes they're already connected and send the data. And the reason why it's important to connect them and get the data is because we want to understand the productivity of the asset, being able to calculate the OE, being able to run predictive and preventive maintenance, and track the orders. But it's also important to monitor the auxiliary machines, in particular in a continuous manufacturing process like oil and gas, chemicals, or paper. Why? Because the auxiliary machines are part of the production process. So it's important to monitor compressor, electric motors, or ventilation fans. So our solution at Zerynth that we have been creating, I will explain in a second, allow really to cover all the different categories of asset: production, auxiliary, the electric panel directly if is needed for the electric consumption. And the other angle I want to add is that we just do not look only at the different type of asset, but we also look at different age of assets. So we look at modern machines. They may have a PLC, most likely they do have, but also legacy machine where you may not have a PLC, or you have a PLC that cannot be entered. So where there are challenges, but in order to have the connected factor in the full view, we've developed a solution that really allows to look at the entire system. Next, how we do that? So in Zerynth, we developed a solution wing-to-wing. It means that it's a solution that really starts from the asset and then ends in flowing the information into a dashboard or ERP Odoo system. And we will show in a bit how we do that and the value of it. Starting from the left, as I said before, our technology is really starting from the machine and the asset. So we want to be able to connect, as I say, any kind of asset. The new one, we can connect with an agent on the PLC. The old one, we do have also our solution that are basically be able to connect to the machines and send the data to Wi-Fi, LAN, or SIM card GSM, because the reality is that in some factory there is no connection. We can also run analytics on the edge directly on our device, and then send the data to the cloud through our core platform that is basically harmonizing the data and make them available either for our final application or, as I will show you later, for the integration with Odoo, and so send directly into the ERP system. The job that we are doing is a little bit like the Android of the situation. So it doesn't matter what kind of smartphone you have underneath, we're really able to connect, get the data, harmonize, and make it available for the next level. I want to emphasize the fact that our system is able to work, of course, in our cloud, or in other cloud third-party providers like AWS, Azure, but can also be Dockerized and put on-prem on your facilities if it is required. If we move to the next slide, as I showed before, we are floating the information to the ERP system.
And Diego, really interesting. And what I really like about Zerynth is we can connect your machinery, as you said, the primary machinery, which is included in production, the auxiliary machinery, even if they are on the latest technology, or even if they're old, right? We get a lot of customers who have some really old equipment and they want to connect, right? So Zerynth has a solution for that. And that's, I think, a key aspect of Zerynth. And just about Odoo, Odoo is as I said, it's an open source ERP. It has different modules. It's a very modular architecture. It has modules to cover inventory for warehousing, your purchase, sales, and manufacturing. Bista is the top integrator for Odoo in US, and we work with a lot of customers implementing manufacturing. Odoo has a lot of features, including MRP, PLM. It has a PLM. Bista has built a production planning and scheduling system using Odoo. I think the big part which was kind of missing is the connectivity to your equipment. Right now with Zerynth, you can actually see data from your machines. So example, and Diego will go into details. Example is you send a job to one of the machines and you want to get quality data back into your Odoo system. How many parts were produced? What's the quality status? All that is not now possible using Zerynth, right? And that's why I'm so excited about Zerynth. To use Zerynth solution for integration with Odoo. So we can go to the next slide, and Diego, you can talk about the connector for Odoo.
Yeah, no, thanks, Faisal, for highlighting again the part of the machine, because this is really important when you're trying to connect the entire factory. And honestly, with the connection on Odoo, we kind of also find our natural path in flowing the data directly in a system that is already well set up with different modules. So we've created our, let's say, app in the Odoo store. So if you go to the Odoo store, you will find the Zerynth app. So it's already available. It's actually already implemented in some customer, and actually they're very happy it's working. But if you go to the next slide, let me explain a little bit better what is doing and what's the benefit that we are seeing before we move into the demo. So the first thing is that we are creating a bidirectional channels. It means that we're able to really exchange the data from the asset through Zerynth into the Odoo and vice versa. So as I will show you later, we will be able to create work orders directly in the manufacturing model Odoo and then send it to the machine. The second thing is that we're matching edge device with Odoo Work Center. So we're able really to associate the machine, so the asset, with a specific work center in Odoo. We're able to connect that to the edge device. And basically, Zerynth is really created this link where the machine will talk directly with the system. And the last part is the automation of data between Zerynth and Odoo. That means that, of course, the data cannot be sent as raw data, but the data are categorized to our system. They are processed, let's say they are harmonized, and then we're making them available directly in the Odoo system. Make it possible to trace the order, to trace the quantity, but also other kind of informations. So if we move to the next slide, I want to show you a quick demo about the integration and the system. So what you can see here is basically the user interface from inside Odoo with the different modules that Faisal was describing before. As you can see, I described the Zerynth model is already available. The Zerynth model is basically the connector through which we are connecting the asset with Odoo. So in this case, there are two machines that are connected, and through a simple configuration, no code configuration, it's possible to configure the machine so that they can send the data. The reason why they send the data and where the magic is happening is in the manufacturing model. So the manufacturing model is usually the model that is used to trace the production, to trace the order. If we look into the operations and the manufacturing orders where we have the different manufacturing, what is possible to do is create new orders. I'm giving you an example where I create a new generic.
Sorry to interrupt. Is it possible to zoom in a little bit so we can see the screen? Yeah, this is good. Thank you.
Better? Okay.
Yeah.
So in this case, I want to create a new work order. So I create a generic orders. I set up a quantity, and automatically the different work orders, so the different phase of production required for that specific item will be created. I will confirm my orders, and now I'll zoom back in again. What I can see is that the orders has been created, has been sent. The order can be then traced in my production status, where I can see that is waiting in order to be started. In this case, I do have a request to insert a program, a file, or different type of information that will be required to machine to execute the order. Through the platform, I'm able to upload, and I'm going to upload with just file and save it. And what happens is that basically the machine is then ready to be, the order has been ready to be sent. So the system will ask me if I'm okay to send the work order, and if I can send this configuration to the machine. Of course, there is a mix of checking if the quality is correct, the information are right, and also the machine can run. So I can confirm the start, and the order will be gone in progress. Now, we're not going to wait that it start to produce in the 20 pieces, but I'll give you an example what you can see in an order that is already finished. And here I have an example. So I just need that where I zoom in a little bit, and I can see that the data are floating directly from the machine. Here we put a time frame of 1 minute, but that can be 30 seconds, can be 2 minutes, can be really customized based on the need and the type of production. So that's something really important, because there's not one solution to them all, but we made it that can be configured in different ways. So in this case, I'm able to track the number of pieces that are done, discarded, and also to track the electric consumption that usually is not an information that is available in the system, and the different status. So this is an example, very short example, on how we have been able to connect an existing asset through the Zerynth app within the module, being able to float in the information, and at the same time send the application to send the work order directly into the production without having any manual or paper interaction from the operator, from the machine, and to come from another system, and so on. So everything is done automatically. Now, if you multiply that for the number of machines that you have, you can understand the benefit. On top of the integration we will do as Zerynth, I change the screen. Can you see my change screen? Okay. We provide as well a dashboard to being able to monitor other KPIs. Because, as I said before, we connect through an hardware or an agent. We flow the information in the ERP, but there are other information that can be used in parallel. This is the look and feel of our dashboard that is available as well as part of the offering we will do on Bista. And here what you see, for example, is the view of your factory. In a view, different asset. You can monitor if the assets are working or idle time, if there has been any alarm, and also other information like the utilization rate and the type of assets, so we can map auxiliary production. Within the system, it's also possible to monitor the consumption, that today is really important. We monitor the consumption at single asset level and as well as single piece produced. So in this case, there are different dashboards, of course, they are configurable, where we can look at the production machine, the auxiliary, and then for each machine, we're able to enter into the machine and understand what was the production schedule, what was the consumption, and of course, the idle and working time. In this case, we have a machine that has not been used too much, many of the time in idle versus working. We can also change the time frame. So we want to do an analysis in the last 24 hours, 7 days, link the result of the machine with the shift. So we can do a lot of analysis. We can also look at the maintenance. So the system is also able to track for each asset what are the maintenance condition, the working hour, the next maintenance. Can be on a prescriptive way. And the benefit is here that the running rate of the hourly rate running of the machine are actuals. So it's not just a period, but it's really the real running hours. So it can be done as prescriptive in a prescriptive way, or we can do also in a predictive way, additive AI. We can also track the different level of maintenance that have been implemented, and we can also move into the production side where we monitor traditional KPI, that is OE, that is part availability, performance of quality, at single asset level or at factory level. So there are a lot of other features that are coming with this integration, and also with the fact to be able to install Zerynth solution on a machine, and then really being able to have a view on the asset and be able to take action. Each of these parameters that we talk, energy, production, maintenance, we can put some alarms. For example, if there are too many vibration, temperature, or too much electricity consumption, that will send some alert to WhatsApp, Messenger, or Gmail to the operator, to manufacturing leader, maintenance person, so that the action can be took live. So the tool is really helpful to be able also to manage the day-to-day operation that then will flow naturally into also Odoo here. So this is just a quick demo saying now what I want to show you is some use cases. So we've been talking about the idea of the connected factory. We've been talking about the challenge that we see into the field, the integration with the ERP and Odoo in order to have one seamless solution that goes from the asset to the ERP system. Now I want to show you what we implemented in some real customer. The first customer that I want to show you is Armal. Maybe you know as Sedac or Toy are the cost that they're producing chemical battery that is in stadium or in factory. And the problem that the customer was about energy. The energy consumption was too high. As you can see here, our device is really in the electric panel close to the machine. This is a machine that has 25 years. So as we were saying before, pretty old machine. And the customer has about 30 or 40 machines that they bought at the same time and they follow the same maintenance plan. The assumption was that they were consuming the same amount of energy. In implementing the solution, we've been able to give them a bunch of information. The first one that is basic, but a lot of factories do not have, is the consumption at single asset level. And they realized that some of the injection molding machine were consuming 2 times more than others. So they rescheduled the production to use the one that we're using less. On the one that we're consuming too much, we are also able to track the consumption at single machine level. So they were able to take CapEx decision. And the third thing is that they didn't know that producing red or black plastic was consuming much more than white plastic. So that's an information that we've been able to track because we're able to understand the energy consumption at single piece produced. So with this information, basically they were able to remodel their pricing versus their customer. Overall, the customer has saved 40%. There were a lot of inefficiency, as I said before, on average we see 20%, but the return on investment was extremely fast on 4 months. Another example, if we move to the next slide, is around another type of use case that is on the maintenance side. The case is Continental, the German tires company, where they produce, in this case, pneumatic valves. They had breakdown on the machines. Breakdown means reliability problem. That means that they had to stop the production, change the components, and move. So what we did was an analysis. We connected all the different assets. We understood the one that had issues. And for the one that had issue, we basically ran some predictive maintenance exercise, similar to what I showed you before on the dashboard. And right now we're able to predict a malfunction on the machines 24 hours in advance with a confidence level of 95%. So the customer 24 hours to stop the machine when there is less production, change the piece, and move on. So that's another example where the solution that we usually have in place allow to optimize the maintenance and to reduce to increase the reliability. And of course, all the information then will flow into the ERP. The last use case I want to show you, it's a real integration with Odoo. This is a customer that is producing plastic component molding plant, and exactly as I was describing before, they had some breakdown information from the asset to the system. The data were extracted manually. Some information were missing. The alarms were not reported. And so what we did the full integration with Odoo, with the manufacturing model, as I was describing before, that allowed really to flow the information and optimize the visibility, and that increased the process, optimize the process. If we move to the next slide, the architecture that we put in place is exactly what we were describing before. We start from the asset, we collect some information that around energy, cycle time, number of pieces produced through the Zerynth platform. This information through the connector that what I was showing before are flowing into the module of Odoo, and then the module of Odoo, as I showed you before, there is the reporting of the different pieces produced, good piece, bad piece, but also the information like energy. So we are really completing kind of the flow from the single asset into the ERP system that is implemented.
Thank you, Diego. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. After the webinar, we will be sending an email. You will get access to the recording of the webinar and also Zerynth's and Bista's contact information. And we can move to the next slide. And yeah, this is the most exciting part, which is live Q&A. So if you have any questions, there is a Q&A option.
I think I see some question.
Yes, I see that. So there is
yes,
one.
we have 3 questions right now.
Okay.
So maybe I'll take the first one.
Sure.
So the question is, if we already have an ERP system other than Odoo in place, can it be integrated with Zerynth? or would we need to switch completely? Similarly, can data be stored on our cloud? No, there is no problem if you already have another ERP in place. Actually, at Zerynth, we do have already connected for other major ERP like SAP or Oracle, but there is another ERP, there is no problem. And the data can be stored in your private cloud if you have one, as I showed before. The solution can be Dockerized and put on prem as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I like it. I really like that Zerynth can be hosted on AWS on your own cloud. Similar to Odoo, you can host Odoo on Odoo SH, Odoo's platform, or you can host on your own infrastructure. So this gives companies a lot of flexibility, especially industries working in any critical areas. They want to control their own cloud deployment, right? And so both Zerynth and Odoo can be deployed in the cloud, which is really nice. So there is another question. Hi, great webinar. What roles or expertise do we need in our team for an implementation? And will this implementation be done remotely, or will you come on site for this implementation? So I guess it's more about Diego, you can take it.
Sure. Well, from role in the company, there is no really need to a specific roles. Our solution is no coding. Of course, if you have technical people in the team, we give the possibility to customize your dashboard, do your own implementation. So we give a lot of tools like studios if you want to work on it. And otherwise, there is no really any skills that is required. I would say it is more require a change of mindset from a digital transformation standpoint, because it would be important to then leverage the tool to monitor the operation from an operation standpoint. When it comes to the implementation, can be done from remote. The basic implementation can be done from remote through Bista as well. It means that the device will be configured, and then usually is your electrician that can install close to the machine, and is extremely easy. And on average, it takes less than 3 hours to connect the assets.
Cool. So essentially, you do not need to come on site to plug their factory into Zerynth and Odoo, right? It can all be done remotely with expertise from the local team. Okay.
Correct.
And just to elaborate, Bista Solutions, we implement ERP. We're a system integrator. So we have a hybrid approach. So we do come on site when we're implementing the ERP system. And of course, we can help in the connectivity and making sure the data flows from your machines into Odoo using Zerynth. So we do have that option as well. But essentially, based on what Diego mentioned, this can completely be done remotely. I see another question, Diego. And yeah, the question is open, so you can either put it on the chat or on the Q&A. And the question is, joined a little late. So it's basically a wood manufacturing company. We only have a couple of machines with PLCs, while around 20 machines are without. Okay, and we're transitioning to Odoo ERP currently, but we also want to start reading the data from the old machines. So how do you go about it? So Diego, maybe you can elaborate.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned before, we're kind of a layer that is abstracted and collect the data from different kind of assets. So the one with PLC, we will play with an agent, and through that we will be able to extract the data directly from the machine. The ones that do not have a PLC would be require our hardware. What I wanted to mention is that we always use an amperometric clamps to extract a lot of information, but our solution hardware can also be connected directly to existing sensors. Because our hardware has analog and digital inputs. So if you do have sensor on the asset, let's say temperature or other kind of sensor vibration, this information from the sensor can be sent directly to our gateway, and then the information will be flowing directly in the cloud, and from there do all the path that I described before, finishing into Odoo ERP systems.
So essentially, if the customer has a SCADA system implemented, it's really easy to plug that into Zerynth and then use your ERP and MES to control your factory and get inputs and monitor. But say it's the old machines, what kind of data can you get using this hardware which you talked about?
So the basic data that we are getting is to the amperometric clamps and the analytics that we run in the edge. We're able to derive information like the status of the machines, the number of pieces that are produced, the idle time, and so on. The other things is that most of these machines do have sensor already installed. And then we can connect to the sensor. The usual sensor that we see in the field are temperature, they may have speed if they have a rotating equipment, there are some about vibration. And so we're able to collect directly also from the sensor this kind of information. What we also do, but then of course in this case we're required to be on site. So what I said before, everything remote is not possible, is that if you want to collect additional information for which you do not have any sensor, we have the capabilities to identify the right sensor. Let's say 99% of the sensors on the market can be used with Zerynth application, and I'll do that through this journey. In particular, if you want to do predictive maintenance on the machine. So when it comes energy consumption, number of pieces produced, we can also skip this part.
Got it. So we can take one last question, and it's a good question actually. What is the typical timeline for an implementation?
Well, I guess this one we need to answer together, Faisal, because we go from the asset to the ERP.
Exactly. So maybe you can talk about Zerynth, and I can talk about the ERP side of it. Yeah.
It really depends on the number of machines. Like if you want to connect 10 assets, or if you have 300 ones, it's a little bit different. But overall, is not very long. Just to give you some ideas, if we're talking with less than 10 machines, we do in less than 1 week. If we're talking about more than 100, between 100, 200 assets, then it may take some more time, but 4 to 6 months. Just because the challenge is not too much on our side, but is on the customer side, to be able to identify the asset, give us the basic information about the asset, and then we can figure out from that perspective. This is for the Zerynth part.
So, and yeah, for the ERP, again, it really depends on a lot of factors. So typically, we start with business analysis, understand what are the problems faced by the customer and what is needed to implement it. A typical implementation for a manufacturing company can be between 3 to 6 months. It can be more based on, again, how much time the customer is able to spend with us. But I would say 3 to 6 months. So that kind of fits very nicely into Zerynth's timeline as well, right? Because you said 1 week for 10 or so equipment and more if you have more. So that should really fit well into our timeline, right? Which is between 3 to 6 months. And this, when we say 3 to 6 months, it's right from we come to understand your requirements to the time you go live, right? You have a cutover and you start using the system. But that's a typical timeline. It can vary, and we can talk more about it. So yes, we're coming to an end. Any last thoughts, Diego, you would like to add?
Yes, I mean, I just want to say that what we described today is kind of a journey, and we're able to cover this journey. Everybody's talking a lot about AI, but we'll get there. But connecting the asset flow, the information on the ERP system it's really the beginning of the journey, and it gives already a lot of value. We see that in our customer. And my last thought is that the solution is one solution that will be implemented by Bista unit, putting together Zerynth and Odoo. So also when you were mentioning the time, there are a lot of activities that can go in parallel, so that we're really able to support you locally through Bista on the implementation, and we'll cover the full spectrum wing-to-wing approach that we described today.
That's right. And Bista is in multiple cities in US and Canada. We have a distributed team. The purpose is to be close to our customer. We can certainly help you out with the Zerynth implementation and, of course, Odoo implementation. Okay, so we are mindful of everyone's time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. We will be sharing the recording and more information on how to contact Zerynth and how to contact Bista Solutions. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Bye.
day.